Thank you, Donna. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll take it away. My name is Chris Kapu. I work with the Hawaii Ulu Cooperative. I'm located on Kauai. Really, I'm just here to facilitate and bring all these lovely people together in the same room today. I work as an agroforestry specialist. I manage the Expanding Agroforestry Project Funding Program, which is a grant, the other side of getting funding for agriculture. And I think, there's pros and cons to each, and one of our presenters, Amanda, will elaborate a little bit on the current situation we're in, with the executive orders and whatnot. But today's focus is loans. So we have myself and my boss, Donna Shapiro, the CEO of the Hawaii Ulu Cooperative. We have Jennifer with the FSA, the Farm Service Agency. We have Jill with the HDOA, and Eric with Feed the Hunger Fund. And they all work as financial officers trying to help farmers get money in Hawaii. And then we also have Nicole and Amanda with the Ag Finance Network and Oahu Resource Conservation Development Council. Um, and yeah, with that. So a little bit about the co-op. We are a farmer-owned business structure. We empower just over 180 farmers across Hawaii now. We're on 4 islands, mainly still on Hawaii Island. Um, but they all own a stake in the business, and they grow ulu and sell it to us, and we help market and get it out to the customers. So here's a little bit how it works. Right, the farmers sell their crop to the co-op. We aggregate it to reach large volumes. We help process and extend the shelf life, creating products. The products then go out to customers, retail, restaurants, institutions, that sort of thing. And then we also do a lot of education, like we're doing now, helping put on workshops and community resources. And then the profits from the customers buying the products goes back to the farmers. So that's how a cooperative works in general. Um, and yeah, our membership is really diverse. We have 6,700 trees planted across Hawaii, and only 2,400 of them are mature. Most farms are half an acre to 1 acre in our membership, with an average of 45 trees. And 30% of our membership has 5 trees or less. 75% of us are backyard part-time commercial farmers. The average age of our farmer is 50 years old compared to the average of 62 years old in Hawaii. Over half of us are beginning farmers, and 22% are Kanaka. And yeah, just a little bit about who we are in Hawaii. And you can see our drop-off locations on the map across Hawaii. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Donna, and she's going to tell us a little bit about how we, the cooperative, have leveraged loan financing to help get us where we are.
Thanks, Chris. So aloha, everyone. Thanks again for being here. So the co-op has capitalized through a combination of some grants, mostly from the USDA, some equity, so basically farmers and some non-members purchasing stock in the co-op, and loans. And loans have provided a really important piece of the puzzle for us. And I'm just going to share sort of 2 examples of loans that we've gone after, received, and then we're in different stages now of sort of paying them back and closing them out. So this is the first loan that we ever got. The co-op was formed in the summer of 2016. We had some initial USDA grant capital just to pay farmers for fruit, buy some supplies, pay some staff salaries, but we didn't have any employees in the beginning. And we learned pretty early on that we needed more money to just kind of run the business, especially with ulu, which is a seasonal crop, and the co-op is mostly minimally processing. So we're taking a seasonal crop with a low shelf life, and we're processing it into something that's more shelf stable and can be sold throughout the year. That means we have a lot of expenses during ulu season, and we don't get paid for to cover those costs until, it could be 6 or 9 months later. And so by our second season, 2017, we realized that we needed capital to just continue buying crop from our farmers in season. And we learned that we were not qualified for any commercial debt because we had no business. Well, we didn't have enough business history. And was probably a bigger obstacle as a co-op, we would have to provide personal guarantees from all of our farmers. I think at the time we probably had maybe 20 farmers. And we could not get a personal guarantee from everybody. Not everybody would be willing to do the paperwork or even had the credit that they would qualify on their own. And so we found the Hawaii Department of Agriculture's Ag Loan Division. If I remember correctly, a requirement was that we had to get denied from at least 2 commercial banks, which was no problem. And then we could submit the paperwork. And so we were able to get a $25,000 loan. The terms you can see in front of you here, 3.375% for 5.5 years. And about 2 years ago now, we completed paying it back. So that was a good experience. The Ag Loan Division staff was very supportive. They would visit us annually. They would request our financial statements, just to make sure we were on track. And so I think this, sort of showcases ALD's direct farm loan or ag loan options. These can be direct standalone loans. They can also be loans as complements to grant funding. What we have found for us personally and what we see for a lot of our farmers is that even if we can qualify for grants, it often doesn't cover the full cost of a project, or it's structured as a reimbursement where you still need capital upfront to pay the bills and then you can request reimbursement. So these are really, really helpful loans, and Jill will share more about them in a minute. And then I'll share about some larger options next. Chris, if you'd like to move on. Thank you. So more recently, we collaborated with the Department of Ag and several other funders to qualify for a much larger loan. And so this loan, it was led by Feed the Hunger Fund, and Eric will talk more about their services, in partnership with HIR, Hawaii Investment Ready, and Mission Driven Finance, and HDOA. So it was many hands in the pot trying to make this work because it was a challenging solution. And basically the situation for us at this point in our fundraising life is that, the co-op had been in business for about 8 years and still needed capital, still didn't qualify for bank loans, and basically was looking for a larger chunk that would help us get to that point of break even where we could start turning a profit and build better credit with commercial banks. So we were looking for $1 million. The idea is that this will really help us get all the way through our break-even volumes, which for us is about 1 million pounds a year. So currently we're at about 600,000 pounds. So we're more than halfway there, but we're not quite there yet. And because we still didn't qualify for commercial debt, we had to find kind of aligned impact investors. And even they were not comfortable with the amount of risk that the co-op had. And I think the same can be true for certain farmers who are growing tree crops, for example, because there can be a long time until those crops bear fruit. With ulu, it's about 5 years. It can be less time if you have great management practices and you're at a lower elevation. It can be more time if you're at a higher elevation or you're struggling with management issues. So it's just a longer time than most businesses have to break even. And in this case, DOA was able to step in and provide a loan guarantee for more than half of the total amount. So for $600,000. We also had to mortgage our leasehold property in order to qualify for the guarantee. So there were multiple layers here. It took us months to sort of figure it all out. And Jill and DOA were, really supportive. It was challenging, but it's really helpful to know that the Department of Ag has these other tools in their toolbox. It's not just conventional, individual loans. It can be these participation loans where there's multiple parties involved to make something unconventional happen. So we're very grateful, and it's been a positive experience for us despite all the paperwork, which at times has been daunting. But it's been an important piece of the puzzle because all the other sources of capital available just weren't enough to cover our needs. And with that, I'll pass it back to Chris.
Okay, thanks. I believe next we have Jill with the DOA.
Well, that was super complimentary. Thank you. Kind of hard to follow that, but just kind of diving right into the agricultural loan programs that the state of Hawaii offers. We are a lender of last resort. That is one of our crowns we get to carry. But with that, that means we do have some differences compared to other people. And one of the main differences, everyone varies because every program's trying to build to fit a different niche. So we require Hawaii residency. We require credit denials and we require equity requirements. Or of course, but the equity requirements vary compared to other people, and our definition is a little antiquated, so it's nice and bigger and broader. But the intent of our programs is really to make sure that agriculture and aquaculture are able to develop and maintain something of like a lifeline here in the state of Hawaii. And we're doing that by providing credit at reasonable rates to individuals and entities. So that's kind of the big gist. If we jump to the next slide, I can kind of talk about a couple of our programs. Donna already highlighted that we do direct loans. Specifically, those are going to look like qualified farmer, new farmer, part-time farmer, microloan. We do have other tools in our toolbox, and that looks like the food manufacturing. We've got an energy renewable. We do emergency loans. I've done a lot of those. Those have to be done through a specific manner. And then we also do aquaculture, which is also, for the few people who might be doing it, very difficult to find anything. I explain on the next slide more about qualified farmer, and that might get to your question about, can you explain equity requirements? Equity requirements are going to they're going to vary depending on how you qualify. So for a qualified farmer, we're really basing that off of if you have any farming history. We're going to be looking at Schedule Fs. We can look at C Corps and GEs, but realistically, we're just trying to show that you have been farming and tracking your expenses. You have that ownership. New farmer is a little more, I'm getting into it. I might have been a manager, but never an owner kind of stuff. Displaced workers, there's ways to it. The main differences between those two is going to be the maximum, really, and how much work. Qualified farmer, I just get your taxes. For new farmer, I might need to get like work references and stuff, and it can be quite the paperwork pregnancy. But it's worth trying if you're really aiming at becoming a full-time farmer. And that's what we're trying to do with these direct loans. On the next slide, it has like a breakdown of the two main pathways that I'm describing, the qualified farmer and the new farmer. And so to address the equity question, equity is going to be what value you have locked away in equipment or in land and stuff like that. We can use that as collateral for your loans. And so that looks different than other people and how they operate. But most of the time like for land ownership, people want a certain percentage of down. I can just show that in the value you might have locked away in, say, a tractor that you own outright and stuff like that, if that answers your question. But this slide also just shows you the very good snapshot of like farm ownership. Our maximum is 800,000, but it needs to make sense for the appraisal. But if you're doing operating, you can also do a microloan, that's 50,000. New farmer, you see the cap for farm ownership is 250,000. At this time, that's going to be what it is. Hopefully it gets that cap gets improved, but that's where we're at. The farm trainee is kind of neat. If you graduated or you went through Go Farm, you have access right away because we see that you have the training. I kind of rather like that has access. It does have a lower minimum or a maximum, excuse me. But yeah, and I think my next slide is just my phone number for the main office. Yeah, okay. In which case then, if you guys have any questions, I think we'll hold them until the end so that I think Eric is next, so I can pass the candle on over. But please throw your questions into the chat if you had any. I know I speed rounded that, but I didn't want to take too much of everyone's time tonight.
No,
So
that's
thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you, Jill. Awesome. Actually, I think we have Jen up next with the Farm Service Agency.
Okay,
Jen, are you here? Yep.
I am here. Hello.
Cool.
Alrighty. So the Farm Service Agency is part of the USDA umbrella, and we're here as part of a federal program to help provide funding through guaranteed loans and direct loans. What we do in our offices, what I do as a manager for Hawaii County, is work with the direct loan program. So we are helping those individuals who are unable to get commercial credit with or without a guarantee, and work with them on the process and how to meet eligibility, feasibility, and security requirements. And then the guaranteed side is working with a commercial lender, and then FSA backs that loan because of your credit situation or how strong of an applicant you are financially. Then you could potentially get a guaranteed loan, and then that is with the lender, and you don't work with the FSA loan officers in the office for that. You work with somebody else. Okay, next slide. So we have two programs really. Our money breaks down into operating loans and ownership loans. We do have emergency loans and youth loans, but the primary loan that we're providing is typically an operating loan or an ownership loan. And the operating loan is up to $50,000 for a microloan. That would be for like a new farmer, somebody who had a youth loan, somebody who's starting out, doesn't really have a lot of experience, hasn't commercially farmed before or ranched. And then a standard operating loan, which is $40,000. And then it's available for very specific purposes. So it's not like a line of credit that you can take out and say, hey, I just want, $50,000 to do this. You do need to explain what you're going to purchase, because then we discuss what we can use for collateral, because that'll determine the type of operating loan it is, whether it's annual or term, and how long we can make that term for, from 1 to 7 years. And then our rate, I put the rate in there for April. And so, the rate changes every month, but you're fixed for the term of the loan, either at the time of approval or the time of closing. And then I'm just going to go back and reiterate. So our operating loan, there's two amounts. A microloan is $50,000 or less, and that's kind of for somebody who maybe doesn't have any experience commercially farming, but maybe they work on a farm. And then an operating loan can go up to $400,000. And that is typically somebody who is already commercially farming, and they have at least like a year of tax returns with a Schedule F. Okay. And then we'll talk about the ownership loans. Ownership loans. So we can also help you purchase property. The limit is $600,000. It can be vacant and can have improvements. The term of the loan can be up to 40 years. That really is dependent upon your application. And then there is no down payment for our loan. So it is 100% financing. And we also do use this loan to partner with other lenders. So if your purchase is going to exceed the $600,000, you can use our loan as a down payment towards the combined financing, essentially, right? So if you're buying $1 million property, you could get $500,000 or less from us, as long as it's 50% or less. than the commercial lender, then we can do a joint financing loan. And then that's where the difference in rate is that you see on the screen at the bottom. Okay, next slide. And then our process, we do walk you through a complete application. We talk about the rules. We talk about the different purposes, the why, how we can help you, maybe a way we can figure out how to get funding for what you want to do. And then does it cash flow? Do you have enough collateral for what you want to do? Is that term going to work for you? And then do we need environmental clearance for your specific operation and what you want to do? Because we are a federal agency, we do have to comply with specific rules on what you're doing to the land and whether or not it is eroding away the soil or conserving the soil. And then also, are you doing development? And then do we need to get clearance from Ship D to make sure that there's no issue with the historic department or fish and wildlife so that all the endangered species are protected? So our process can be long with that. It can take up to 60 days for you to get an approval or a denial. But we do work with you so that we can discuss what you want to do with the money so that we can figure out, okay, is our program the best program for you? Is it going to work for your schedule, for what you want to do? Can we start the environmental clearance today? And then you work on your application. And if not, maybe you don't have any collateral for the loan and maybe we need to refer you to another agency, or you need a little bit more and maybe you need to go talk to another lender that might be able to help you. And our program might not be a fit for you, or it might be a fit for you. But basically, your first step really is to talk to us and kind of let us know what you want to do. And I've worked with Eric and Jill before, and so we work together to try and help you figure out how to get your operation up and going. And then I think the last slide is just our contact information. So I did provide our Hawaii County office, Honolulu, and Maui County. And then questions at the end, I believe. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jen. Cool. I think up next we got Eric with Feed the Hunger Fund. Eric, you ready?
Yep. Thanks, Chris.
All right.
And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Yeah, so Feed the Hunger Fund is we're a small lender that focuses on food and agriculture. This is our mission, is to create sustainable and equitable, climate resilient food systems. You can go ahead and click to the next slide, Chris. So this is a team here. I think the main takeaway from this is that, we're here to support you. It's not just me. I'm located on Hawaii Island. I tend to work more on Hawaii Island. There's Lama, Natalie, and Aaron on Oahu, and we kind of tag team some of the other islands. We have a couple of folks on the continent who also support our loan program. We do a little bit of lending in California, but about 2/3 of our lending is here in Hawaii. All right. Thanks, Chris. You can move to the next slide. So my job as a loan officer is to assist businesses as they're seeking money. I look at their financial situation. I try and balance their ability to repay with their need. And then I make a recommendation to a loan committee. Next slide, please. Our focus is food and agriculture. More than half of our borrowers are farmers. Out of the other half, the vast majority is related to food somehow. Meat processors, distribution, food trucks. We're actually working with a handful of food trucks right now that are moving to a brick and mortar location. Our loans tend to be on the smaller size, 5,000 to 250,000. Our average loan is about 80,000. So this is like fencing, one piece of equipment, paying off some debt, finishing a project that you didn't have enough capital for. We also lend shorter term, like we don't do a lot of real estate financing. If that were to come up, I would refer you to Jennifer. Also a shout out to Linus Tavares with American Ag Credit and Jason Okuhama with Commercial Business Lending. I think Jill, Jennifer, and myself work closely with them, particularly if there's going to be like land purchase involved. And sort of our focus is taking a risk that other people can't or wouldn't or won't take. And sometimes that means like, Jill sent me a grocery store. Somebody was doing like a farm stand kind of situation. Like, well, this is a little bit outside our box. It's not a good fit for us. Can you take a look, Eric? So then Jennifer and I kind of tic-tac, like, how do we figure out how to solve their problems? Okay, next slide, Chris. So just some of the recent sectors we've been in, beekeepers and actually the collar grower there that I just shared, cattle rancher, flower grower, a lot of veggie producers, few coffee farmers. Go ahead and click to the next slide there, Chris. And I guess my goal to come here tonight was to be like, look, we're not scary, we're nice. Give us a call if you're thinking about raising some money. That QR code also has my phone number and email in it. And just feel free to reach out at any point in time if you're thinking about raising some money, and we'll just see what your options are. And with that, who's next, Chris?
I think it's Amanda. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. That was perfect. So next, yeah, we have, did Amanda make it on? Is she here?
Yeah, hello, Chris and
Okay.
everyone. Amanda Shaw, Director of Food Systems at Oahu Resource Conservation and Development Council. Share a little bit about what we do, and also have my colleague Nicole share a little bit about a project that we work together on. So Oahu Resource Conservation and Development Council has been around for nearly 30 years, and we've got 3 areas that we work on: thriving farms, healthy soils and watershed, and resilient food systems. So in the thriving farms, that's where we've been doing a lot of our economic development work, where we focus on helping producers, food system organizations, and others navigate some of the capital landscape, do a lot of grant writing, do some, support to refer to other partners. So that's the part that I'll be focusing on mostly today. Next slide, please. So in terms of what we do in that area, we provide free one-to-one client services. So to kind of help you look at your ideas, see if they're, you and your business are in a position where you're called what we like to talk about as grant ready. So if you're ready to apply for grants, but we also, know that folks are looking sometimes for debt. So then we would refer out to other organizations, or if your business, is kind of at a stage where it maybe needs a little more incubation, you need to develop the business plan more, then we provide that kind of referral service. We can do some research into different funding opportunities, and we can help you find services. Next slide, please. I'm going to pass it over to Nicole Milne to share a little bit about the project that is currently housed within Oahu RC&D, but that she and others have been working on for quite some time.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, everybody. Chris and Donna, thanks for hosting the webinar. I'm Nicole Milne with Hawaiʻi Good Food Alliance, and since about 2018, there's been a group of lenders that have come together to get to know each other better and to share information about their products. We are the Hawaiʻi Ag Finance Network. We're now housed within Oahu Resource Conservation and Development Council, so Amanda and Jamie typically gather us about once every other month. We have more than 40 organizations across Hawaii that participate, that we are lenders, government organizations, and other TA providers. And as I mentioned, we come together, we built relationships over the years. Eric used to work at Kohala Center. He was there back in the day with me when we started this organization, or this network. And it's just really blossomed since then. And I think it's allowed us to work better together and to be able to facilitate more access to capital across Hawaii's farm and food system. We help producers identify loan products that will meet them where they're at, and then help them start and grow their businesses and access different financial products as they go and as they grow. And yeah, so we are really just, I wanted to share that we're really are a friendly bunch. And if you are new to taking out finance, to reach out to Oahu RC&D, and we can help you sort of navigate. And Crisco, can you go to the next slide? We finally got our act together and have made a PDF, which Chris, if he hasn't sent it to you, he will send it to you. We've maintained this database since 2018 of all of the lenders in the food and ag space that come to our network meetings. There are others that we're continuing to add. But we do have a PDF that lists some of the important details about each of the finance products. So if you have questions on that, please reach out to Amanda or myself. And that's it. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, so we just got our contact information here, and I'll put mine as well in the chat in a minute. But if you do have questions, grants, loans, capital landscape, unsure where to go, feel free to reach out to us or anybody else, obviously, that's on the webinar today. And just one next slide, I wanted to just share, some of the linkage. In addition to providing the sort of like on the ground services to farmers, so we do economic development work, we also do conservation planning. But we've also been involved with policy through an initiative with the Department of Agriculture. And there's actually a bill that's up. So just kind of wanted to share that with folks. HB 984, that's a bill that's currently before the legislature that would really help expand the kind of work that Jill does and HDOA's ability to provide ag financing. So just to kind of connect the dots that, we're here to provide services. We also know there's a lot more we want to do, a lot of us in this landscape, especially now, given everything that's changing at the national level, just to try to support Hawaii's food and agricultural system. So if you are interested in following that, you can do so. And then I think the last slide is back to you, Chris. Mahalo, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So I guess before we start, or before we kick off the Q&A, well, I'll go first. Amanda, do you think you could maybe elaborate a little bit more on the current landscape and grants and what's going on with the executive orders, where we're at now, et cetera?
Yeah, I'll try my best to add, the information that we have. And as folks know, it's rapidly shifting. So being able to track it is really half the issue. But Wahor C&D recently published a report, which I can link in a second, to some of the grant programs and funding that have been impacted at the federal level. So trying to quantify some of that. And what we found is that at least, 88 million is on the line currently. And so if we look at the kind of percentage that makes up of our agricultural economy, that's about 13%. And so when we look at other, crises or changes that have happened, that might be along the similar lines as COVID, seeing a 16% change in our agricultural economy over a time span of a year. And as folks know, we're relatively early on in the year. So, it's no surprise to anyone on this call or folks following that, there's major questions about the capital landscape in terms of the grant funding side. The most exciting part about being here with all of you folks and hearing hearing again the wonderful details that folks are sharing that are able to provide that kind of the kind of capital that they do is that is, an option for folks as they're trying to figure out how to navigate. So definitely, if you do have contracts that are stalled, reach out to us. We're trying to help producers and food system organizations navigate some of those issues and pointing towards resources. And also, reach out to lenders. They may have bridge loans or other kinds of funds that can help you as you navigate the funding ecosystem. So I think I'll leave it there, but happy to answer any questions, and I'll share the link to the report.
I think Rachel or Andriana just shared the report in the chat for anyone who's interested. It's very interesting. Thank you for doing all that work, Amanda. I guess we can, open it up if anybody wants to come off mute and ask questions directly. Now's the time.
My question is for Jennifer Balderas. Just to get updated on where your funding sits and availability as far with the administration's the way they're going. Is USDA still funded properly? Do you guys have enough staff to process loans? How's that all working?
As of today, well, we didn't have a shutdown and a budget was passed through the end of the fiscal year or continuing resolution. So we have funding for our operating and ownership loans. And it goes on a, as approved basis. So as it comes in, then we request it, and then we should have funding for our loan program. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. That's going to be a few months down the road, depending on whatever happens national office wise. But Our loan program is funded and we are receiving applications for both operating and ownership loans and are able to fund them and close them as of today.
And sufficient staff to do all that stuff? Because I know you guys lost some staff here and there.
We did lose some staff. We did have a person who was gone for a day, but luckily they were reinstated. So our Hawaii County office is staffed, and then also our Maui County and Honolulu, American Samoa, and Guam. And we have staff to get the work done, and we're working hard to get it done, but we are pretty busy, most of our offices, with multiple tasks in covering other areas, maybe that they did lose staff in farm programs on the other side of our agency, which doesn't do loans. And so we are all kind of working together to get it all done. So you may have a little bit of a delay, but we will get back to you. And we do want you to call or email us so that we can try and help you.
Thank you.
I just want to give a shout out, Jennifer. You guys were really jamming in advance of the potential shutdown. And I know of multiple, folks that you were working with where you guys went just way above and beyond to try and get stuff done before the shutdown happened. And just really grateful you guys are still there. Good question, Linus, because that's one that I've gotten also. Like, what does this mean for, should I still reach out? Because it's just people are a little rattled. So, you guys are as diligent as ever from my perspective, which I'm not in your office, but what I've seen for the folks that I interact with who are also interacting with you, they've been getting great service.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Do we have any other questions? Oh, sorry. I can stop screen share for sure.
Chris, can I ask a question? Are presenters allowed to
Yeah.
ask questions?
Yeah. Of course.
I had a question for some of the farmers on this call or anybody who's on here. I think when you take a look at the PDF of the ag lenders that we sent out, if there are ag lenders that you know about that aren't on that list, who have been friendly towards the system, we'd love to hear who those people are so that we could expand our network and then share those recommendations with other businesses. So please do reach out. And then I guess maybe just an ask if there's a moment of silence, if anybody wants to share ag lenders that they've loved.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone can see my screen, but this is the loan product database form that you're speaking about, right, Nicole?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so this is a really, really great resource. It lists a lot of the entities and products that are offered as far as ag loan financing. So I'll be sharing this out to everyone, all of the attendees here, along with the recording after we're finished. But yeah, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, I mean, does anybody know of any others or have any questions about this?
One thing I will say, this isn't exactly answering your question, Chris, is, all the people here, I think really play well together. And, and I'm putting Jason and Linus also in that category, is that if somebody isn't a good fit for me, I, as quickly as possible, shuttle them off to Jennifer or Jill or Linus. And, I think they do the same. So I guess I wouldn't, if you look at that list and you feel like, wow, that's really confusing, you'd be pretty safe just reaching out to anybody on that list. And, they would probably hear you out and try and get you in front of the right person.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Looks like we have some questions in the chat. Oh, Sierra said she worked with Kiva after the floodings. Oh, that's great. It looks like Marjorie asks, if you're someone who is looking to get their farm business going, have experience but taking the leap to purchase and operate on their own land, who do you recommend we reach out to first among you all help us with the scary loan process.
First, it's not scary. Don't be scared. Where are you? Are you off camera? I'm looking for you. I think that one person who's not on this list who just came to mind for me is the Small Business Development Center. They're always a great resource for business development if you're not quite ready for financing but are working on your financials. So I would just like to throw them out there for right now. Anybody else?
I take not a huge amount of those calls anymore, but definitely I think that usually when somebody's buying a farm, it is like the largest financial transaction of their life to date. Like this is a big deal for their household, for their family, for their pocketbook. So, I think contacting as many lenders as possible, getting a realtor, working with the realtor, asking them their ideas. I mean, it's like you almost have to be, I think a lot of farmers don't think of themselves as being in the real estate business, but they are, right? You got to understand the market and what are you paying. Even if you're leasing, you need to understand the conditions of that specific lot of land, what's going on with your neighbors. So just in that process of starting to sort of shop, to look at all your options, call everybody, just call one person a day for a few weeks and just have a conversation with them. I just tell people to really make sure they're examining all their options to the fullest. And it is intimidating. Sorry, Nicole, to disagree with you that it's not scary. It's not scary. It is just, it's like a hill that has to be climbed.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions? Jason says start with the FSA office on your island. And Buddy says to reach out to Amanda. I agree.
I have
Okay.
questions, if no one else does, both for just sort of the whole panel. But the first is, what would you say to someone who is afraid of the loan process? So they're not necessarily a new farmer, but they just haven't had the experience of borrowing money, and that's scary. What would you tell them?
I will jump in. I always tell them that is a good characteristic. I don't want you to be so comfortable with debt. That's your favorite tool to pull on, right? So yeah, let me work with you so that we're both in a good situation. I want you to be comfortable all the way through the process. I don't want you to feel like you're getting in over your head, but rather having access to something you've been working towards. And so I want to make sure that is what we're working towards as a team. Like it does me no good if you feel like this is a noose versus the rope to climb up on, right? So that's what I want to work with.
Oh, yeah, that's great feedback. Thanks, Jill.
Yeah, and if I can just echo too, like the great resources, Small Business Development Center, Go Farm that has their business consulting arm. Just to, yeah, I think spending any extra time with, your business plan and really making sure that that's and you have everything you need to feel secure and in your direction and where you're going can't hurt.
I talked to a lot of young and beginning farmers that are very scared of debt. And, I stress a couple things. One is that there's, there is good debt, there's bad debt. Bad debt is like you're going on vacation, you're going to consume something. Good debt is you're going to buy something, it's going to increase in value, and it's going to enable you to generate income. And, a lot of times a farm falls into that second category. And farming is very capital intensive. That's just the reality of it. And it's even more capital intensive when you're on an island with some of the most expensive real estate in the world. And I've met several farmers who were very proudly debt free and absolutely completely broke and could not, yeah, they're like millionaires sitting on real estate, but they don't have any, it's like all their financial energy is totally locked up and unavailable in the land. And like you need to take some of that value that's in the land, pull it out, and then do something with it, engage it, make it active, buy fuel and plants and fertilizer and equipment to be able to generate the revenue. And to understand kind of that business concept when it comes to agriculture, I totally agree, Jill. Somebody should not get in over their head to do that. And sometimes just starting small is the thing to do. This is not a good example, but I was talking to a business, and I don't want to disclose too much, but they were like, I need like 5 million to do the thing. And I'm like, man, like maybe if you did the thing in your garage, like a little baby bit, and got some recipes in place and got a customer base and built a brand and kind of piloted it, then you could go from like the garage to like a strip mall to then like leasing some warehouse space to then getting the 5 million. You know what I mean? So like sometimes even just like starting so small, plant a papaya tree, sell it, make $300, put that on a Schedule F. Now you've got a farm business. Like sometimes like taking that first step doesn't have to be like, I think take the first step that first step should be one that's manageable for whoever, the owner operator who's going to be taking that step. I hope that addresses your question. And even you, Donna, you're like, our first loan, 20,000. Next loan, million. Like you guys didn't jump off the deep end.
There were a few in between, just to be clear. Thank you. No, that was super helpful. And as you were talking, Eric, one of the things that occurred to me is that having a business plan, like just going through the process of drafting a business plan, even if it's super simple, can be very reassuring because you can see how that investment will increase your revenue generating opportunities over time and where the repayment is going to come from. And the Small Business Development Center, again, can help with that, as well as, Go Farm helped us with our first ever business plan. So I guess I'm not 100% sure if they still offer those services, but do they, Amanda? Yeah, so
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
And in speaking of the business plan, I just wanted to chime in. That's really a big part of our first sit down meeting with any applicant. It's kind of just one, getting to know them and making them feel comfortable, and then trying to figure out what the goal or their goals are to see where they are in this their plan and what's the next step. And a lot of times it's prioritizing too, what is the main thing that they need to buy, whether it's a piece of equipment or now they're ready to buy farmland because of just the responsibility and the debt that they'll incur, and to know that, we're going to talk about it. We're going to let you know like where we see the risk and whether or not that risk can be mitigated, and that will help them also be successful in going in a step-by-step process, and just making them feel comfortable and having that conversation to talk about what is a business plan. And it doesn't have to be a big Excel file full of like tabs and cells, and it could be very simple and on a piece of paper. And we kind of just talk through where you are, what are you looking at, and maybe where do we go from here, and if it's a good fit for us or for somebody else.
That's super helpful, you guys. I noticed we have a couple other I guess professionals in this space in here. Jason Okuhama, or maybe Linus. Did you guys want to jump in and have anything to contribute or something you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody has covered how well we all work together. The ag community is actually pretty small, and the ag finance community is even smaller. But we have the same goals, to try and help agriculture in Hawaii establish itself better, create better opportunities for young farmers coming up, and again, self-sustainability for the state. So again, we all work really well to each other. If I can't help you, I can send you to somebody else, or we can do a combination where we can use other sources, because some people are limited in the amount they can lend. In my case, I'm not as limited. I mean, I can go up to $100 million. So we can all work together. There's room for big, small, and in between. So yeah, we have a pretty good network within the finance community, I think, anyway. Maybe not so much with the other commercial bankers, but within this group that specializes in agriculture, pretty good group.
So that's great to hear. Yeah. Thank you, Linus.
Sorry, I don't have my camera up. I didn't think I'd have to speak, so
No, no worries.
I didn't put up my camera. This is Jason, Oklahoma. Yeah, like Dinah said, yeah, it's a small world when it comes to ag, especially financing. So, and we do all work together. I remember Eric quite a bit, especially lately, with financing, especially when the loan amounts get larger than what Eric and Feed the Hunger can handle. And I work very closely with Farm Service Agency, Jennifer, Michael on Oahu, and Darren on Maui, on doing a lot of the larger FSA and my lender land purchases, because as Jennifer said, their maximum is 600,000, and land in Hawaii, especially Maui and Oahu, goes well over 600,000. Maybe Big Island, you may get away with some smaller price land acquisition, but on the Maui and Kauai also, but Maui and the Oahu, they tend to be quite high. So we work closely with the Farm Service Agency in doing these combination financing to get farmers the 100% financing, especially on the larger land purchases. So, again, so there's again, we all kind of work together. We all know each other pretty well and what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes left before 6. Does anyone have any last questions before we start wrapping it up?
There's also another expert lurking here, Buddy, who was at FSA for a long time and just moved over to the Department of Ag. So he just posted something in the chat, but I just want to just mahalo you for your time and congrats on the new position.
That's right, Buddy is in here. Yeah, don't feel like you have to come off mute or anything, but we're definitely grateful to have you here also, Buddy.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with farmers. That's where I come from. I said in the chat, it's up to the farm. It's our job to make the farm successful, because it's going to make, if the farm's successful, the rest of us will be successful, including the family that is working on the farm every day. So that's where it all comes down to. So mahalo to all the farmers that are here. I like to eat, so.
Yeah, likewise. And it is about that time. Does anyone, we'll take one last question and then we'll wrap it up.
I want to know if Sierra Lynn is cooking. It looks good.
I'm trying to multitask. I make chicken with cream and mushroom, and then we got steaks and mashed potatoes, all the things.
Oh, nice. Sierra is an awesome kawa farmer on Kauai.
And then Mike, you came off mute. I saw you. Don't get to come off mute without somebody noticing. Oh, Mike, we can't hear you.
All right. Yeah, well, I appreciate everybody coming, especially to our presenters, making this successful. And yeah, they're here to help you guys. Reach out to them, help get funding for your farm or your project, whatever it is. And I'll be sending out the recording of this presentation and also the loan database report that Nicole shared, and a couple other resources. So keep an eye out for it. But again, mahalo for coming, and happy growing. Ahui ho.
Hui ho. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Dana and Chris. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mike, does your volume work?
Yeah, sorry.
It looks like Mike's mic is broken.
So ironic.
Mike, can you put your question in the chat? Insight?
All right. Well, thank you everybody for your input, and I'll be looking forward to reading those emails and taking a look at everything. Thanks again for all the info. I think I'm off mute now. By the way, my name is Lawrence. I'm just a new farmer, just kind of tapped in. I just wanted to get some info, and I think I did that. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to, like I said, just getting started. I'm actually going to be doing the Go Farm program with Daniel. I'm gonna probably do the orchard and the regular program. I've been growing other things, but I'm getting out of that, and I want to get into more of the food aspect of growing, not just the hemp and the cannabis commercially. That's all been fun for a while, teaches you a lot of things, but I want to get back to where I started from. But now I have some resources to get started with some of that. And yes, I just wanted to come off mute and tell everybody that I appreciate that, and just say aloha before I took off for the night, and hope everyone has a great evening.
Same to you.
Okay, thank you.
And